All right, let's just jump right in. I want you to try and forget everything you think you know about managing infrastructure. Seriously, we are not talking about carefully patching servers anymore. Today, we're going to explore a pretty wild idea. What if you could just delete your entire infrastructure and then rebuild it from scratch in the time it takes to brew a pot of coffee? It sounds crazy, I know, but welcome to the new world of disposable infrastructure.
And get this isn't some theory from a textbook, it's actually happening right now. Some of the most advanced DevOps teams out there are intentionally destroying their own infrastructure. I'm talking staging, production, the whole shebang, and they do it on a regular basis. Why in the world would they do that? It's simple. It's to prove that they can bring it all back perfectly with just the push of a button. Talk about the ultimate confidence booster.
So yeah, this practice sounds completely insane on the surface, but it's actually a very, very deliberate strategy. Let's dig into how these elite teams are using intentional destruction to build some of the most resilient systems we've ever seen. It's all about forcing discipline and learning to trust your automation completely.
Let me give you a real-world example. An engineer was talking about a client who started this journey by nuking their non-production environments every single month. And after about 6 months of building up that confidence, they moved on to wiping their productive accounts once a semester. Now, this wasn't chaos. It was a super methodical, phased approach to make sure that absolutely everything was defined in their infrastructure as code, no exceptions.
And this is the part that is just staggering. How long do you think it took them to bring everything back online after a complete wipe? 30 to 40 minutes. The entire environment stack, rebuilt from pure code, faster than most teams can even deploy a single small service. That is the kind of power we're talking about here. It's mind-blowing.
So how do they actually pull it off? The process itself is brilliantly simple. First, you make absolutely sure all your critical data and state is backed up somewhere centrally. Step 2, you run a tool like AWS Nuke to just wipe everything clean. And third, you trigger an automated redeployment using tools like Terraform, Boto3, and Airflow. It's just a clean, repeatable, and unbelievably powerful workflow.
But look, this isn't just about a new technique or a cool tool. It's a fundamental shift in philosophy. We're moving away from treating our servers like these precious, handcrafted pets that you have to nurse back to health. Instead, we're treating them like cattle, as disposable, replaceable commodities.
And this comparison just lays it all out perfectly. In the old world, infrastructure was sacred. You'd log in, make some manual tweaks, and just pray nothing broke. The fear factor was sky high, right? But in this new world, it's all disposable. If something's wrong, you don't patch it, you just destroy it and rebuild it from code. The fear of breaking things just gets replaced by the confidence that you can always restore a perfect state.
And at the end of the day, this whole evolution is about changing the very role of the DevOps engineer. The goal is to stop being, as they say, ticket monkeys, just endlessly clicking buttons to provision resources and fix manual mistakes. It's about empowering engineers to build automated systems that make all that day-to-day operational toil just fade away. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Oh, this is just a fancy way of talking about Terraform. But it is so much more than that. We're not just talking about running a single script here. We're talking about building a complete platform that lets developers operate safely and on their own. And here's the basic formula that makes it all work. Yeah, it starts with infrastructure as code tools like Terraform for sure. But then you have to layer on orchestration to manage the whole workflow, a user interface to make it easy for people to use, and, this is the critical part, a governance layer to keep things safe. It's the combination of all these pieces that creates a true self-serve platform.
And if you're thinking this is only for small, scrappy startups, think again. Huge organizations are all in on this, building what they call zero-touch environments. They're stitching together tools like the ones you see here to give developers the power to, say, create a new repo and instantly get all the automation and security baked in from day one.
Of course, giving everyone this kind of power comes with a pretty big catch. The technology is absolutely amazing, but if you don't put the right guardrails in place, you can get into a whole lot of trouble really fast.
This quote from an engineer just hits the nail on the head. The ability to spin up complex infrastructure on demand is incredible, right? But without super strict cost controls, it is a recipe for financial disaster. That freedom and responsibility, they have to go hand in hand. So really, it all comes down to a balancing act. The technology to do all this stuff, it exists today. It's here. But true sustainable success only happens when you pair that tech with rigorous cost controls, solid policy enforcement for security, and automated cleanup routines to prevent all that waste.
And here is a perfect, concrete example of a guardrail in action. A ton of teams implement these automated policies that just destroy temporary developer environments after a set amount of time, like, say, 12 hours. This prevents all this zombie infrastructure from just sitting there, running up the cloud bill, and it's what makes this whole self-serve model actually affordable.
Now, all of this sounds incredible, which of course raises the big question. If this is so powerful, why isn't every single company on the planet operating this way? Well, it turns out the barriers are often more about culture than they are about technology.
You know, the biggest hurdles often aren't technical at all. It takes a huge cultural shift to really let go and trust automation. On top of that, a lot of engineers simply don't even know these platform-level tools exist. Then there's some healthy skepticism that a one-size-fits-all solution can work, and just the plain old reality that many teams are just too buried in manual work to even think about this stuff.
And honestly, that skepticism is fair. The reality is, there isn't one magic button you can just go out and buy. Most successful companies end up stitching together a bunch of different tools: Terraform, a CI/CD system, some custom scripts, a UI on top, to build a platform that actually fits their specific needs. So we've seen this is not a pipe dream. It's a working reality for a growing number of teams out there who are taking back their time, building massive confidence, and letting their developers move faster than ever before. Which really leads to the most important question of all. If they can do it, why isn't your team?